Ladies and gentlemen, Kelly Roach is with us today. I've known her only for a little while, but I've already become a big fan. She is an 11 times international bestselling author, top 20 podcast host, but she's also a powerhouse of an entrepreneur, having built an online business from 0 to 8 figures with zero funding, zero debt, which I absolutely love. I am all about bootstrapping, building it, and having your audience basically fund and validate your business for you as you grow. She is the mastermind and the founder behind Biz Advisory, but so many other things I'm kind of coming to find out as we were chatting right before hitting record. Kelly, welcome. And why don't you just dive right into what you call conviction marketing? I was so intrigued by that. So dive right in. What does that mean? You talk about how to and then hope marketing. I'm all about the different types of marketing, especially if they involve feeling. So tell me more about that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me today. And conviction marketing was born a few years back when a lot of big trends online, I felt personally, were really dumbing down true thought leadership by kind of pressuring mass creators
Mm.
to participate in fads and trends and shortcuts that so many people were using to get their brands to grow online that I could see for people like myself and many others that number one, they were out of alignment. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the pointing and dancing trends and the lip syncing and the basically do anything to go viral kinds of strategies. And it was this tidal wave of people that were having this friction about even wanting to show up online anymore
Mm.
because what they felt that they had to do to participate in the conversation that was going on online. And for me, I had built an 8 figure business without participating in any of those trends, without doing any of those fads, with ever feeling pressured into doing any of those things that were out of alignment for me. I always wanted to build my business based on intellect and value add, not based on, popularity for doing something that is like a copycat of something that just so happens to be popular for the moment. And for me, it went even deeper than that because I'm a business growth strategist, right? So my job is to guide and protect and to lead my market and my clients to implement effective strategies that are going to produce sustainable results. And the most dangerous thing about most tactics and trends that are taught in the online space now is that they're not sustainable. And they're not
Mm.
sustainable because not only will they not work long term, but you won't be able to keep up with them long term. And most of the time, you spend so much time trying to catch up and trying to learn these trending tactics online that by the time you actually learn them and start implementing them, it's on to the next thing already. So it's this never ending hamster wheel of marketing hell, which is what I call it, where you are no longer putting what comes first, right? And the point of creating content online is to add value. It's to be of service. It is to initiate a conversation with the market that is compelling, that activates people, that engages people, that makes their life better in some way, shape, or form, which would then, get them to want to continue engaging with you, continue consuming your content. So anyway, I saw all of this going on and I was like, this is just silliness. And I'm like, someone has to say something, someone has to do something. So, I knew that I was continuing to grow really rapidly and scale really rapidly without using any of those tactics. And so I said, well, let me document a formula that's really easy for anyone to understand that any thought leader can use online to continually build their brand, gain new followers and fans, and engage and convert people online without participating in trends, fads, or strategies that feel either out of alignment or, maybe lack integrity or whatever the case. And so that's a long answer to your question, but that's the why behind conviction marketing.
Mhm.
And it's even more important now because there's zero barrier to entry online. The online market is more crowded than ever, but it's gonna keep becoming more crowded than ever, and most businesses, have this question, "How do I stand out?" And I can tell you how you don't stand out, and that's by copying what other people are doing. How you
Right.
don't stand out is by creating the same content that everybody else is creating, by doing the thing that, every feed, you could scroll through it and, you could remove the person's head and it's the same message, right? So anyway, so the conviction marketing method is just it's just a very simple model. You mentioned already, how to hope and conviction. And basically it's helping people understand that your audience is simply going through a psychological funnel of this know, like, and trust process with you. They many times are initially going to come engage with your brand because of your how-to content. They want to learn something. You're going to give them an immediate outcome. You're showing them how to do something or to learn something that they want to know. And so that is the initial hook that gets people to come and pay attention to your brand. But one of the big whys behind the conviction marketing model is that most people that are building online brands put almost all of their focus on either entertainment, the trendy, fun, lifestyle type content, which is
Mhm.
great for engagement, but horrible for conversions. Like
Right.
that guy makes sales from that. Or they're doing tons of how to content, which is great to get people into your ecosystem, but it doesn't get them moving through your ecosystem. And so you might have 1 million followers online and they love your stuff and they like your posts and they comment on your posts, but you're not making any sales from it. And we see that all the time. So it's important to know that how to content is the first step, super simple. It's you providing a transactional, immediate benefit to someone that's engaging with your content that's going to give them an outcome, right? And it's a great way to attract people into your ecosystem, hence the opt in, right? Everyone knows that's kind of one of the oldest strategies in online marketing. It still works very, very well. It's a great way to build your list, build your audience, all of those things. But then you want to make sure you move them into the next tier up, which is going to be hope, right? And hope is the biggest portion of the pyramid. Because if you think
Mm.
about it, when someone's getting started, they have stars in their eyes and optimism in their heart, and they see you and you're doing the thing that they want to do, and they're all excited about it. And you give them that first step, you give them that first piece of content, and people get started and they're like, oh crap, this is really hard.
Right.
This is a lot more work than I thought, right?
Mhm.
So, your hope content is the biggest piece of people remaining in your ecosystem. And in this market today, people are sitting in your ecosystem typically for 6 to 9 months before they buy. So you have to be really good at creating hope content where you're sharing stories, you're giving compelling context, you're sharing nuance, you're really being like their cheerleader, their friend, you're like the confidant that has been where they are, that is continually reselling them on their dream and keeping them focused on their dream. Because what most people do is they opt into this and they do this for 5 minutes, and then they opt into this and they do that for 5 minutes, and they just keep bouncing
Right.
from place to place.
Good old shiny object syndrome.
Exactly. Exactly. So you want to stop that. You want to stop that in your ecosystem. And the way that you stop that in your ecosystem is you get people to keep consuming. You get people to be progressing down a path. And when you're leading them down a path and you're progressing them somewhere, the hope is what keeps them going, right? It's the story, it's the belief, it's the, ability to cast vision, right?
Mhm.
So that's that middle chunk where they're going to spend the most time with you. And then the third tier is conviction. And this is where differentiating your brand comes in, right? And it's where giving layers of differentiation and having convictions. Like, for example, so many people come to me now because of conviction marketing because they want an alternative to going and following all the Instagram gurus that are like, and today you need to do this, and today you need to do this,
Right.
and tomorrow, right? They want an alternative. So by me sharing my conviction about the fact that you don't need to do any of that. And I can give you a method that's timeless where you don't have to be recreating the wheel all the time. People come to me in droves for that. So when you share what your conviction is about the way you do what you do, about the reason why you teach what you teach, and you build a concrete methodology and system around it that people can easily understand, and you keep bringing them back to where can they get the relief that they're looking for, that's where conviction marketing comes in. And that's where obviously you move people from, in the beginning, you're their teacher, you're giving them that how to content. In the middle, you're their cheerleader and you're giving them that hope and that inspiration and that vision casting. And then towards the end, it's conviction. Now it's time to really be clear about
Mhm.
the differentiation between what you offer, why you believe what you believe about what you offer, kind of the why behind the what, all of those things. And that's what's going to differentiate your brand. That's where you're going to move people from sitting in the ecosystem to becoming a paying customer, and all of that. So that's like just a little crash course on
I
how
love
that
it. I love it.
practices.
Kelly, I'm really curious because in my business, I talk about how important it is to know who that person is, what their values are, a little closer to top of funnel. You were kind of describing it closer to bottom of funnel. So I'm curious, as people are coming into your ecosystem, obviously people are opting into your freebie at different times. They're getting to know you at different times. How do you manage that journey that you just described? y- Being that it is kind of sequential, you're sort of leading them down the funnel, but are you segmenting them differently in
Yeah.
your email? Or okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's a great question. So we use like a ton of quizzes and polls and all sorts of segmentation data to put people on different pathways so that we can understand, why are they coming to us? What is their need? What is their level? What are the right tools that are going to support them? And then they're being segmented and funneled down different pathways
Mm,
based on that data that they're giving us. So to your point, I think that's absolutely correct. Like, you want to try and segment as much as possible upfront so that you can customize the journey that they're
mhm.
having inside your ecosystem. And then you'll continue to do that along the path, because they're always going to have those options to go left or go right once they're inside your world, so to speak.
Mhm. What does that look like from a really practical level? So obviously in social, we're kind of broadcasting one to many. It's gonna hit you where it hits you, or you're gonna miss it because of the algorithm.
Yeah.
In email, I can see how you might be able to do that a little bit more intentionally. Is there any other place or any
Yeah,
other way that
I
you are
mean,
kind of
we use the thank you page on the opt-ins a lot to
how
segment
so?
and to ask questions. So the thank you pages on the opt-in are huge, and you can actually offer additional gifts that they can receive as they do that. And when you say, we want to customize your experience, tell us more about you so that we send you
Mm,
the right things, right? So the thank you page is huge. For us, we use Facebook groups a ton. So we use those questions that we ask in the Facebook group as well. And then even once they get into the email sequence, we're still continuing to ask them additional questions to put them on the right path. But we even start earlier than that, because we run a lot of different opt ins depending on the need. And I'll give an example. So, like, one opt in would be for the business advisory, the 7-figure SOP. And that's for people that want to do scaled up launches. But then another one that we run is Bigger Than You, one of my books. And that's about optimizing winning teams, right?
mm,
So, it's two different needs and two different types of people that are looking for two different types of solutions. So we know that this person is coming in wanting help here, whereas this person's coming in over here. And that's where having different opt ins and being really clear about the avatar for your different offers and customizing, even before they start the journey, what they're even
mhm.
responding to is going to help as well.
That's really interesting. So even within the Facebook group, you're kind of taking note of how people are responding to different That is mind blowing. I never thought to do that, but of course, that's data that your audience is giving you. That's information
Sure.
about them that if we
For
can
sure.
I feel like I
Also,
probably
too,
haven't
oh, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like I probably have a file with some tags in it in your system. I wanted to mention Derek, I think Mumford is his last name, your sales director,
Yeah.
who is phenomenal. He has been such a wonderful human, reaching out to me over text, like as a human, not as a
Yeah.
salesperson. Um, just genuinely caring about it, not only answering my questions, but anyway, after the call with him, I think we did get on a call. We did some voice messages back and forth for a while. And I told my husband, I was like, this is who I want on my team at some point. I loved his approach. I loved that he was so just genuine, non-pushy. It was like, we're here. We want to serve you. That is the vibe I got. And I know that comes from great leadership. So obviously kudos to you for building
Yeah.
that team. So
Thank
I'm
you. Yeah,
guessing I
I
have
mean,
some
that's
tags
the
next
whole
to my name.
culture. Yeah, that's the whole culture, and that's what's so cool about being an entrepreneur, because you get to decide the culture that you want to have in your organization, right? And that's our sales mentality too. It's like, serve first, care more, and I just tell them, you stack good decisions and you do the right things for the right reason, and it always works out. Doesn't mean everything goes the way that you planned that I was going to, but everything always works out, right?
I love that. I do want to touch on a point that I kind of touched on earlier, which is in the funnel that you described in conviction marketing, in the sort of process or journey that your customer is going through. You talk about establishing your brand sort of bottom of funnel or sort of towards the end of that process when you've given them how to's, you've established or you've helped them see the vision and have the hope and the inspiration. Like, this is possible for me. Like, I'm so inspired. I know I can do this. I've bought into your perspective. And then at the end is when you talked about your morals or your values kind of coming through. And I'm so curious about that because when I work with my clients in their brand video, I show them how doing that top of funnel can shape the entire customer journey.
Yeah.
And I've never heard about bringing that up again at the end of the funnel. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good question. So what I would say is when you implement the conviction marketing method, you're rotating through hope, how to, and conviction constantly.
Mm, mhm.
So when someone comes into your world, and like you can kind of see this even on my pages where like I rotate like this all the time. Now you'll probably go look for it.
I know.
But it's a rotation on an ongoing basis, right? So they're being served all three of those components of your, communication strategy every step of the way. But I think it's even more poignant to make sure that that gets layered on because, like I said, especially if you're selling high ticket, which we specialize in the high ticket, we teach people high ticket. It's a consultative buying process, right? So what you experience with Derek that you just experienced, like that's on purpose, right?
Sure.
We don't want to come in with a sledgehammer. We want to build a relationship with people and we want to build a relationship over time so that it's not if, it's when, right? And so that when people buy from us, they're so convicted and they're so ready that they're like, this is it. Like, these are my people, and they feel so sure about it. We don't want to be in like a convincing energy. We want to be in a consulting energy, if that makes sense. And that's very much
Yeah.
by design. So, the hope, how to, and conviction is happening every step of the client journey at every step, every point. So I love that you're, including that in that initial brand video. But then it's when you get to the point where you're ready to convert people. I think what's really important to understand is the market has shifted so much where a few years ago people were really buying tactically. They were buying a
Mm.
mentor based on the outcome and really strictly the outcome. Who's the person that's going to get me to my goal the fastest? Now people are very much buying the values, the person. They don't wanna just get the outcome, they wanna feel good about the decision and the approach to how they're getting the outcome, which I think is such a huge win for all of us, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "This is our moment."
I
It's
know.
so good. And that's a really cool thing, but that's where that conviction marketing really has to come out clearly
Mm.
because, people are, evaluating things through that lens.
I love that so much because I love that you clarify that these things are happening in conjunction and kind of simultaneously. Because to me, when I look at how to and tips and tricks and all of that sort of very practical, tactical advice, to me, that is one way that you can not stand up from the crowd because that's what everyone is leading with is their
Yeah,
expertise. That's important. Obviously, we want to work with somebody who knows their stuff, who knows what they're selling, and who has proven experience and results for their clients.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, the question they're really asking, especially now that you've, like you just pointed out, is who are they working with to get to those results?
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about scaling, which is very much your expertise. So,
Yes.
I want to take somebody who has a proven offer, who has potentially a smaller team, who's kind of functioning, the revenue's okay, it's steady, but it's still a lot lower. Maybe let's just for the sake of being super buzzy about it, it's 10x lower than what they want to be. So what should someone like that look at? Is there sort of a roadmap for them that would apply to most businesses in this phase in terms of what they should be looking at? I think in particular in terms of like building relationships, building partnerships, gaining visibility to scale to higher numbers. Obviously, you could maybe spend more on ads and just sort of scale on a cost-based effort,
Yeah.
particularly asking about things that are more organic or relationship-based that you recommend.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many ways to scale, right? But I think when you really break it down, if you want to accelerate anything in any area of life, you increase the frequency and the consistency of what you're doing to get the outcome. So when you look at wanting to 10x your business results, you have to look at what is the frequency and consisting of posting, of launching, of making offers, of booking consultations. It's really those foundational things of the base hits every single day and improving the quality, quantity, and effectiveness of them. And I would say there's two core things. One is what is your organic strategy, right? What are you doing every single day on social media with your brand that's building new relationships, and are you engaging with people? And you just use company as an example, Derek sending you audio messages. Well, that personal relationship is being formed with thousands of people in the market at any given time at the top of the funnel, so that when it's their time and they know that they're ready to 10x their business, it's going to already be obvious that they're going to choose us, right? Because they have a relationship, right? And there's
Mhm.
an understanding already in place of what the need is, where things are going, all of that. So increasing the fundamentals. And no one ever wants to hear that because they want the one trick pony silver button. Right. And it isn't that. It's the foundation. It's being consistent with posting, being consistent with stories. You mentioned visibility. Visibility is huge. Why am I here right now today? Right. One of the best ways to grow your audience is consistently being a guest on other people's podcasts, and also doing your own. So, those fundamentals. And then, if you want to 10x anything, you need a scalable system. Right. So for me, obviously, I teach the live launch method. It's something that I created. It's my registered, trademarked methodology. And, that's how we help people 10x their businesses quickly, because I say you need a better megaphone, right? If
Mm.
you want to see rapid increase in the business, you need a strategic way that you can systematically acquire more customers quickly in a predictable and reasonable fashion. And the nice thing about live launch is you can start off live launching completely organically. So
Mm.
that goes right back to step one that we already talked about, which is your organic strategy. It's the
Mhm.
fundamentals of what are you doing frequently and consistently with high impact.
Mhm. I love that. So you're basically saying doing the basics is very important. Quantity does matter.
Every
Obviously, quality is important too. But I've heard this from a couple folks. I think Cardone has mentioned this, and then Alex Hormozy has quoted him and started also outputting a lot more content and obviously growing reach super high as a result. So we can kind of see these examples of people who've before our eyes, in the span of a year. I would say, Hormozy wasn't that well known a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and now he's
Yeah.
don't know him. Where have you been?
And I mean,
Obviously,
in that
quality
in that
content behind that.
example, right? He probably, I don't know the exact number, but I've heard the number before. I mean, he's spending millions of dollars on
Mm.
every year, specifically just on brand building. I think he probably spends $10 million or more on advertising to gain exposure so that people know his name, right? For that
Mhm.
exact reason that
Mhm.
you just said. But I think for entrepreneurs that are earlier on in the process, getting really good at content marketing to begin with is the foundation. And then, advertising obviously can pour rocket fuel on that and
Mhm.
accelerate that quickly. But that's why I tell people to start live launching organically first, because then as you start to get those cash injections coming in, you can take that money and reinvest that money in advertising, and then that will help you leap really quickly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I've always heard that doing both in conjunction is important, not just
For sure.
focusing on one, not doing
For sure.
only ads.
Yeah.
Because somebody coming in through an ad is going to poke around, they're going to start making their assessment about who
For
you
sure.
are, and if you don't have that content backing you up, kind of leading the way. In my case, I always say have that brand video right there for them to watch, but
Yeah.
either way, if you don't have that, then they're piecing it together some other way, and so you have to have that for them. Perfect segue into talking about the live launch method. If you were to summarize, I don't know in detail about the live launch method, but I do know that it's focused a lot on doing live video and showing up live for your audience. I feel like you would have a much more sophisticated and better sort of overview of it. And then I have a couple of specific questions that I want to dive into about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the simplest method on the planet for scaling your sales into the millions online. I will start by saying that it is a live delivered experience where you are in a service first, intuition led, live teaching environment for your audience, where you segue them through a set of building blocks of educational, inspirational, awareness shifting it into an invitation, and you lead them through a process through multiple days of the invitation where they are able to kind of self coach themselves to a yes if
Mm.
it's the right time and the right offer for them. And it's really the most powerful strategy I've ever seen. I mean, we used 14 to 16 different methods to grow my 6 companies, and we've never been able to get any strategy to come close to the performance of what we see
Hmm.
with live launch. And I mean, we're always testing new things. We never stop. We always want to bring our audience the best of the best, but there's simply nothing that touches the live launch.
What would you say are the main differences between the live launch method and other launch strategies that might be webinar based or masterclass or challenge based, or are there
Yes.
similarities there too?
The biggest differentiator is the service first mentality and
Mm.
process. So, when you get on a webinar, and I've sat on many webinars, and many times after those webinars, I've never engaged with that brand again afterwards. Because you go, you listen to them talk about themselves for 15, 20 minutes. They teach about 10, 15 minutes of content, and then there's a 30-minute pitch. And for smart people that value their time, I know for me, if I attend something like that, I will never interact with that brand again, and I will never buy from that person because they just disrespected my time, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so after having that experience as a buyer, I wanted to create something that was the exact opposite. And I wanted to create something that the experience was building future buyers just because of the way that you treat your customer and the way that you value their time. And so, number one, you're not following a script, you're not using
Mm.
slides, you're not, going down a checklist of things. You're really present, and it allows you to kind of nuance and engage with your audience and all of that, which that's a huge piece in a live
Mm.
launch. But number two, like if you come to one of my live launches, and I'm always in a live launch for something, if you're going to be on the session with me for 60 minutes, I'm going to talk about myself for 2 minutes or less, just so that you know who I am, like what my deal is, like why should you even care what I have to say? And if there is a pitch, the pitch may be 15 minutes at the end or whatever, but usually those first few sessions are going to be just 100% value add. It
Mhm.
depends on the price point of the offer. But yeah, it's much more intuition led. It's very service focused. If you said, what would be the one differentiator, I would say, when you deliver a live launch, you should have people leave your live launch and say, I got more value from this experience than the last 3 things that I paid for. And
Mhm.
that's how you know that you actually followed the live launch method. And what I tell people is getting sales from the live launch is great, and that is the immediate byproduct. But the more important outcome of live launch is you're building your brand. And brand is more valuable than a single sales transaction. Brand is always more valuable than, any kind of tactical in the moment thing. And that's what we really want to do is we want to be, yes, getting the transactions for today, but more importantly, broad base planting the seeds for tomorrow.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much because you're looking at a specific launch as, yes, we want to get results today, but part of that is reaping the seeds that we've sown before and also seeing sowing seeds for the future. So you're not
Exactly.
all eggs in one basket. It's either now or never that folks are going to convert. One thing I want to just dive into on that note that you just made is this idea of, first of all, I got a ton of value when I went to your workshop. So here's a testimonial to say that that's actually absolutely true. I took like pages of notes just from one day when you were talking about high ticket selling. In addition to providing all of that value, that's like it's meat, it's tangible. I walked away with so many insights. How are you differentiating yourself? Like, what does brand building look like within a live launch?
Well, yeah, it's first of all, we tend to teach and also deliver live launch in a way that each person that comes into the live launch has an actual concierge. So you're not just a passive participant sitting and listening to content, but you're actually engaging with our team. You can
Mm.
ask questions, you can share things that you took away. They're kind of dialoguing with you. So again, you're kind of getting a taste of the white glove service that we deliver to our clients inside, where there is a human centric approach and you're not just dealing with automations and things that have been, put together in an email sequence, because people all have nuance, and their businesses have nuance, and whatever it is that you're delivering, there is nuance to it. And so capturing the ability to support that is something that is really being craved in the market right now. It's like a super crucial buying tool, and it's also another huge differentiator of the live launch experience.
Yeah. I felt that too now that you mention it 100%. It was a few months ago, so I'm drawing from memory here, but I did feel like the team was very present. So before the class, after the class, in between
Yeah,
dates, it was very much we're here, care about your experience, we care about what you're learning, but what you need, what do you need? How can we
yeah,
help? So
exactly.
across the board, this is coming through on this end as well. How does live launching different? How do you differentiate an approach to live launch? Where is there a difference? I guess might be a better question. If you are targeting folks that are earlier on in their business, or if you're targeting folks who are in the 7, 8 figure range, who are obviously way more intentional about their time, way more picky, and way more critical in a very good way about how it's being presented. So what is that? What does a live
Yeah.
launch look like if you're targeting folks that are 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of people that come in through our 9-day live launches that are seven-figure entrepreneurs. I think the biggest difference is the higher level someone is, the more of a passive participant that they're going to be. So, a lot of people that come into our products and services that are high level entrepreneurs, they came in through the live launch or they signed up for a live launch. They didn't maybe watch every single session or like participate back and forth the whole time with the concierge, but they use that as a vetting tool for our organization to like scope
Mm.
us out, see what we are all
Mhm.
about, like dip into the content, watch the team, watch the overall organization of the launch. And so they use it more as a tool to like vet and validate and verify, kind of that you're the real deal, more so than, okay, I'm going to sit and I'm going to go through all 9 sessions. But we get people at all levels that come into our live launches. And I think the difference more than anything is they're going to be a passive participant
Mhm.
more than an active one. And you'll need to customize, the way that you have conversations with them. Now, if you want to attract higher level people to your launches, you have to make sure your launch is addressing and solving a need and a problem that's relevant, right?
Mhm.
For them. And so you have to think about and make sure you're in their operating reality when you're designing your content. But once they get inside, yes, it's you focus on creating a connection point and then establishing rapport and building a relationship so that then you can have a customized conversation with them, because it's not going to be a one size fits all. And that's a huge buying criteria for people at that level. They want
Mhm.
customization, they want just in time solutions, and they want to know that your organization is capable of supporting people in like a non cookie cutter fashion. That's really, really important to people at those higher levels.
Mhm. Is that happening mostly in the sales calls? Because
And
I
that's why
believe
you hear
people.
us in the launches pushing people back to getting on the phone with the team, because we want the team to be able to customize their experience and take
Mhm.
the framework that we're teaching publicly and then customize it privately.
Mhm. I don't recall whether you guys even have pitch at the end where, or a live link, if you will, where you can opt in immediately, or is everyone being
Most of our
directed to a call?
programs are by application only, so we
Mhm.
don't even let people join until they've spoken to a member of the team, because we also wanna be really protective of the community, and we wanna make
Mhm.
sure that if someone's coming in, it's not just like a financial, like, "I can afford it." We wanna make sure that it's truly a fit and that they're ready to do the work, right? Because our team is gonna do the work side by side with that, and it has to be a partnership, to do that. We do have some lower level things that are not by application, so if it's one of our programs that is an application only, we're going to invite people to book a call with a member of the team. If it's a lower level product that doesn't require an application, we're going to send the link to the sales page and invite them to just go directly there.
Makes sense. One final question for you, Kelly. You, like you said, you were attracting folks that are younger in business, folks that are further along, 7, 8 figure range. When you mentioned content, so having content that addresses the 7, 8 figure folks, where they are, the challenges that they are facing, how do you manage from a content perspective? So I guess thinking specifically about social media, we talked about segmentation before. I'm guessing you're not sending them all the same emails. So in terms of content on social media, is that sort of you're mixing in different types of content to make sure you're
Yeah,
speaking to these different
you are
audiences?
mixing in different types of content, but you want to speak to the highest common denominator, right? So you're never going to see me publicly on social media on my accounts speaking to like low level, entrepreneurs that are just getting started, only because most of my programming is really designed for established leaders. We do have programs for newer people, but things trickle down, they don't trickle up. So if you're speaking up
Mm.
here, you're always going to get people people down here. But if you're speaking down here, you're not going to attract people up here. So it's like you have to kind of cultivate your ideal avatar and speak to the highest level person that you want to work with. And then you're still going to get people at all of the lower levels anyway.
That makes so much sense. Kelly, this was phenomenal. I feel like I just got a private class into how your business functions, how you see marketing, which was so phenomenal. I love that there were definitely commonalities there about I also can't get myself to point at things. I appreciate the effort that people do put into whatever it is, however it is that they're showing up, but it didn't align with me, and I've sought other ways to establish my own brand. And in addition to that, I thought we just dug so deep into segmentation, into
Yeah.
how Live Launch looks for your business and what you guys teach. How can folks connect with you? What is the one place you send them to? There's so many places they could connect with you, I'm sure.
Yeah. You said this was kind of like a private class. Like, come have private class with me every single week. I release 2 episodes every week. There's over 1,000 episodes. I mean, you can literally sit and put me in your earbuds and grow your business for free, just by listening to the podcast. So I would say come check out the Kelly Roach Show.
Love it. We will absolutely include that link in the show notes as well. Kelly, thank you so much for your time. You were so generous. And I also want to plug, I know that we tend to only plug one thing, but I do want to mention your Facebook group because I believe that so many of the challenges happen in there, that your staff is incredibly supportive. And so, regardless of where you are in that journey and whether you've just met Kelly or you've been following her for a long time, that's a great place to feel supported, to ask questions. I love the prompts that you give. For some reason, Facebook always notifies me when you write something. So I might be more of a lurker than a
Called Scale with
participant.
Simplicity. The group that you're referring to is
Yeah.
Scale with Simplicity. We have many. That's a really good one. And yes, you're right. We have a lot of staff in there. They're always there to help. They love interacting and supporting. So yeah, come join Scale with Simplicity as well.
All right. Thank you again, Kelly, and see you on the next set.
Great being here. Take care.